On Saturday, the first episode of the new Trigun reboot dropped, and you know I just had to be there. Trigun Stampede has had cautious eyes on it since the first trailer dropped, and man, were people still mad about the CG even after they were proved wrong. With lines like, "This is cheap," "This is soulless," the insults didn't stop. CG hasn't been looked at in a positive light since Berserk 2016, and for the most part, that's reasonable. Too many companies have used CG as a method of cutting corners, instead of using it as an art form. That's not to say that full CG anime can't look good. We've come a long way since 2016, looking at the more minor examples that use minimum CG to enhance the 2D animation like Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, and Chainsaw Man. Shows that each look amazing in their own rights. Then you have fully CG anime like Beastars and Land of the Lustrous. Both of them looked phenomenal as well. The funny part is those two examples I used were from Studio Orange as well, the same studio that is currently working on Trigun Stampede. If there's one thing Studio Orange has done, it's increased their ability over the years to make a great-looking, fully CG anime. I saw a lot of people comparing it to the likes of Ghost in the Shell, but I can bet you these people are unaware that Eiji Inomoto, the person who founded Studio Orange in 2004, worked on Ghost in the Shell standalone complex before creating the studio. They've definitely come a long way since Majestic Prince back in 2013, and have solidified their own style very similar to studios like MAPPA and Ufotable. Do I personally think they're quite on that level? No, CG is too niche right now. But once people see it in a better light, I can see them taking on a lot more projects. They're only getting better at their craft with time. Nothing shows that more than Trigun. But hey, if you watched the episode, let me know what you thought about it. Did you like it, or do you just absolutely hate CG? What do you think about it, Ronin?
Studio Orange did an amazing job with the first episode of the Trigun Stampede reboot. I know for some reason anime fans are allergic to anything 3D or CGI, but I think that they did a really good job with it, not falling for many of the pitfalls that other CG-heavy anime end up in. The action that we get to see in this episode is super smooth, super fluid, and just super suave. The character animations are top tier, and even in moments that are meant to be on the more relaxed side, I was never really taken out of the scene. Not only do I not mind that this anime seems to be completely animated in 3D, but I think that this anime actually benefits quite a bit from being CGI, specifically because of how expressive the studio was able to make Vash and every other character in the series. In a pure 2D animation, making every single character interaction and facial expression this bombastic would be nearly impossible. If you really pay attention, you'll notice that even high-budget anime like Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man, or even JJK use dialogue scenes to really ease up and keep everything simple. It's understandable considering the amount of work that they have to put in regards to everything else, but with 3D animation, this limitation seems to be much less of a problem, and for a protagonist as consistently goofy and expressive as Vash, I think that that's a huge asset. Overall, I really enjoyed the first episode visually, and I'm excited to see how Studio Orange continues to present this series.
Thanks, Ronin. Glad to hear your thoughts on the matter. For everyone watching, make sure to check out his channel and drop a sub. He makes some amazing content. Enough about the controversy that is CG and anime. Let's actually talk about the episode. As amazing as I think it is, I can acknowledge that it isn't perfect. The vast majority of this first episode suffers from its pacing, which is, for the most part, understandable. First episodes are intended to set up the premise for the show. A slower pace allows that, but it can cause some negativity when it comes to looking towards the future of that show. Will the rest of the episodes suffer from bad pacing as well? I can't complain about the story content given to us though. With the series being essentially a reboot, it's of course going to tread back over some information and backstory that we know. The show is being set up to introduce Trigun to a new audience, and there isn't anything wrong with that. I know a lot of older fans wanted a continuation of Trigun, which, don't get me wrong, would be absolutely amazing. That just wasn't the route they wanted to take. And for anyone who wants to blame the studio, this was a decision backed by Yasuhiro Naito, so it's not completely on them. I can't say that's something that will absolutely make the series good, as we saw what happened with The Promised Neverland. It is, however, too early to be the judge on that. So we get essentially a bit of the backstory on how Vash got to this desert wasteland, with our introduction to Meryl. Even though the pacing isn't great, it still does a great job of introducing us to the characters and giving us some world building. Before we move on to that scene though, I would like to address the complaint of the lack of Millie, because, yeah, what the hell, where is Millie? Now, she might show up later, but it's still a bummer that she wasn't in this first episode. Okay, it's time. Time to talk about that scene that was circulating Twitter. The scene that caused so much controversy. Just kidding. The vast majority of people appreciated the only action scene in this first episode. And they're right to do so. It looked absolutely phenomenal. There just seemed to be a small subset that are stuck on hating CG. Most of them regurgitating that they only use CG to cut corners, even though Studio Orange only uses CG. They've just grown accustomed to hating CG, and don't get me wrong, I get it. Like, just look at X-Arm as the perfect example of how not to use CG. Even Dorohedoro had its issues with CG, but those were years ago, and we've come a long way since then. Also, when are we getting Dorohedoro Season 2? I need it now. I think the best example of this was the fact that I watched Trigun Stampede, and then 30 minutes later watched the first episode of the Nier anime, and my god, while the 2D looks great, the CG is horrendous. I saw a lot of people saying Trigun Stampede looked like it was straight out of a PS2 game, but no. That insult belongs to Nier, because that CG was bad. Everything within this action scene in Trigun just looked good. The choreography was great, the animation was great, even the background blending with the characters looked amazing. I'm not going to dismiss everyone's complaints, but in my opinion, CG as a medium for anime has come a long way, and this is the best a fully CG anime has ever looked. This is definitely one I would recommend to keep an eye on going forward, especially if you don't have an issue with the way it looks. Studio Orange is putting in the work as usual, and I'm excited. This looks to be a passion project, and I'm set to fully believe that. I, however, just wanted to share my thoughts on the episode and maybe get some more people intrigued in what they're trying to do here. But hey, as always, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe. Otherwise, peace.